what was going through your head on the train, when we picked you up, pulling up to his house? Like, walk us through that.
Okay, so I got on the railroad train, which is like not the subway, it's the one where it's above the ground. And so what was going through my head? I swear I was just thinking I need to get this train and not miss it because I don't know if you remember, but I struggled with that as well.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I'm going to make the train in the end, because that's kind of what New York was like. It was just stress, I guess, getting places, like getting the Uber, and I'm really bad with time management. So having to catch trains and stuff, I was always rushing. And I struggled to read like the names of the trains and stuff. So I just felt relief once I finally got on the train and I was on time to get to where you were picking me up from. So that was good. And then I honestly just don't even know if I had a moment to collect myself properly and even look outside. Like, I just remember I was sitting there and I was like, all right, I've got my camera, I've paid for my ticket because I almost didn't pay for it as well by accident. And then I just was like focusing on getting off at the right spot and everything. And then you guys came and picked me up. And I think the first time I looked out the window properly was when we were right like near Andrew Sandler's, because I'm pretty sure where you picked me up from, it was only like 15 minutes away from there as well. Mm-hmm. And I just remember like all the houses were really beautiful. You were saying that there was a house as well from the movie The Great Gatsby, was it?
Yeah, so Nassau County, we were getting towards the area where the Great Gatsby was, the book is based on. Like, it's based on northern Nassau County on Long Island. So we weren't there, but we were probably about 10 minutes from there. And there's a lot of old money on the North Shore of Long Island. Like, it's probably one of the richest places in the entire world. Yeah. So in case anyone didn't know that. So we were kind of like in that vicinity pulling up to this guy's house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, as an Australian, the only thing I knew about Long Island or had heard about was the Hamptons from Keeping Up with the Kardashians. I'd seen it on there. And then The Great Gatsby. I knew that had Long Island in it too.
Yeah, the Hamptons is cool. The Hamptons is cool. There's not a lot. I mean, like, there's not really any fish keeping stuff out there, or like in that regard. But, talking about like wealth and like people you didn't even know existed living, and making all this money, that's a place where they go to. A lot of the rich people in the city have summer houses in the Hamptons and out east on Long Island. And it's a very unique place because, you're in New York City and then you drive an hour and a half, you start getting into the Hamptons, and all of a sudden it's farmland, rural, like the nicest farmland, giant houses on the water right next to the beach. It's like, there's not really any place that I could think of that's kind of like Eastern Long Island. It's, orchards, like apple picking, like all this crazy cool stuff. But,
yeah, it's beautiful. I think as well, one of the things that is the reason I can't remember what I could see properly too, I think a lot of the big houses, they've got trees up in front of them, so you can't properly see the houses. I think it's like a shield for privacy.
When you start getting into those neighborhoods, you don't see the houses unless you're let in to see them.
Yes.
Yeah. So we pulled up to his house and there was the gate. We had to get paged in. So like, what was going through your head when we got there?
I was like, I hope that he remembered that we were coming.
I was nervous. I was like, oh my God, I don't think I've ever been in a house this expensive before.
I know, neither had I. Yeah, and I was saying that when I was there too. I think that's probably the nicest house I will ever step foot in my entire life as well. Like, I was a little bit nervous too because I didn't know. I'm not accustomed to houses like that and how to act and stuff when you're going to a place like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I felt a bit out of my league there. But, yeah, it was beautiful. I've got the video on my phone as well of us. Like, I was like, I have to video this, us driving in, because it was just so magnificent. Like, this big driveway, once you get through the gate, and then pulling up to the huge house. Like, it's gorgeous. It's something that you see in shows like Keeping Up with the Kardashians.
Yeah, it's true. And, funny enough, it's like that was the most incredible house that we probably both have been in. And it was absolutely incredible. But it's weird to think that the area that we were in, like, that's just another house. You know what I mean? Like, he was in a neighborhood of people like that. And there's people that have bigger and more expensive. Like, it blows my mind that there's that many people that have that much money. And it's crazy, but it was, it was incredible. It was definitely the nicest house I've ever been in. And I was nervous because I felt like I was third wheeling, and I was like, oh my God. I was like, how's he going to respond? I hope that Kaity actually told him that we were going to be there. And I hope she explained the situation, but no, thankfully he was a pleasure to deal with. I think you probably got the same impression, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And I think it was probably good for them anyways, having us come together, because they originally were like, are you coming on your own? And I was like, yeah, it's just me. Like, it's going to be me rocking up otherwise. Like, it's a lot nicer being able to share that experience with other people, I think. Yeah.
And it probably made it a little easier for you knowing that there was someone who's local going with you, who's kind of like familiar.
Yes.
Yeah, because I know, because I was familiar with him through other people that I know in the industry and stuff. So, and it was good. I'm so glad that you invited us to go see him and meet him, because now we have another friend and a new contact that we, another content creator here on Long Island. And, it was great. So tell me your initial impression walking into his basement and seeing his entire setup, because he doesn't just have the one 17,000 gallon tank. He has other ones, which are almost just as impressive, in my opinion.
Yes. Yeah. Well, it was kind of the same thing again, like at Joey's. It was weird because it felt familiar. Like, I could recognize everything. I'd seen it all online, but then I'm there in person. It's almost like, wow, this is actually real. Like, this actually exists in real life. But yeah, it was amazing. But I don't know. It's like I knew what to expect already. So it's so hard to describe, to articulate that feeling of like seeing something and then being there in person. I don't know. Yeah,
I felt the same way, because I've seen it in the videos, but you don't realize what it is until you actually see it.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I will say that actually. Like, the tank is just one thing, but then like all of the basement and like the technology and stuff that goes into maintaining it is incredible. It's like 20 times or 30 times the size of the tank.
Yeah. Why don't you describe the setup that he had about, the tank and everything?
Yeah. So basically, like, it's this huge tank. Do you remember how many gallons it is?
I think 17,000.
Yeah, something like that. This huge tank, and you can go in like around the back of the tank. There's ladders for you to climb up on, for people like scuba diving and stuff in the tank, because that's how big it is. You need to go in there with a scuba diving suit to clean the tank and put the corals in and everything. And then you like keep walking out the back, and they've got like this big computer system that runs everything. They've got all of these like quarantine tanks. What else they've got? I don't know, like tanks full of coral, fish. You go even further down, like it's just so much. Like, there's like levels. You go further down to like another basement area, and they've got like this reservoir of water. Like, I have to go through my video again to remind myself of everything they've got, because it's just packed full of technology. It's just insane.
Yeah, it was like, honestly, probably more high tech than a lot of aquariums.
Yeah, it was crazy. Like, their fridge, they've got a whole fridge that's bigger than my fridge that I have here, like just for fish food and like medicine and stuff. Like, they've got a whole kitchen and stuff for their fish tank.
Yeah, it was really crazy. So there's the tank, and then there was a laboratory behind it. Then behind that was a quarantine room / filter room. And then there was a staircase that went down below everything, and there was a whole second floor with more filtration. Yeah. So it was
it was crazy. It just kept going and going.
Yeah. And he also had a couple other setups too. So I don't know if you remember that he had I think it was 250 or 300 gallons right next to his big tank, which was like a deep sea reef tank. And then he also had the gym on the one side too.
Yes, that's right. See, like that's how many things there are. Like, I can't even recall everything that was there.
Yeah, and he also had a koi pond. Really nice koi
pond. Yeah, and a huge koi pond.
Mm-hmm. Which he did.
Yeah, but they're setting up another tank too.
Yeah, in his office. He showed us his office and everything. It was really awesome. And we also met the owner of Country Critters there, so that was nice getting to know him a little bit before we ended up going out east and seeing that place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was lovely. And again, everyone there was so accommodating, so friendly. Like we stuck around there for a few hours in the end. It was really nice.
Yeah, I think we were there for probably like at least 4 hours.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, but it was just so chilled out. Like everyone was just relaxing, hanging out. It was really good.
Yeah, that was an awesome experience. Now, by the way, if I know we're getting, let me just check the time real quick. It's 9:22. So I know you said you want to get off by 12. We could cut this out of the video. But you know, if there's any time that you have to go, we could like plan, you know, like 15 minutes before we could start like wrapping it up, or like 10 minutes before, and we could just, you know, wherever you want to cut it off, that's fine. Because I don't want you to stay up too late.
Oh, yeah, don't worry about it. I'm a night owl anyway.
Okay.
Like I'll normally go to bed at like 1, 2 a.m. So I'll be fine.
Okay, cool. So we got a little bit more time then.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, we'll be good.
So let's just say sorry, I'm just talking to my brother. 50 minutes? All right, so let's do like let's plan for like maybe another 20, 25 minutes. And then we can start wrapping it up in like 15 minutes. But yeah, so his house was absolutely incredible. And he had the big koi pond, and he was telling us he's going to stock it with, you know, very expensive koi that I've never even seen before. He showed us his office tank. I don't know if you remember that. Like, that's going to be awesome. I would love to go back there one day, for sure.
Yeah, and they're going to set up the discus tank as well. I like with the staircase, like where it's going to be like a vivarium kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be so cool.